since I done did a live on a Sunday. It has been a long time since I have brought a message on a Sunday. Uh, my first Sunday message that I did went bananas. So it's fitting that I would have a message like this on a Sunday morning. Some of y'all might be headed towards an early afternoon, and some of y'all are just kind of getting to a late morning. Whatever the case may be, man, I'm thankful that y'all have tuned in. Hit the like button, y'all, and definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, but hit that like button and comment. Make sure you comment. I say throw 50K in the chat, 50K, because we have a 50,000 sub campaign movement going on here at the channel. But I already know the type of dialogue we're having, the type of information that is being shared on this channel. I'm definitely in the believing, or my belief is that it's being muffled. Just as my microphone was muffled, I had to clean it up. I had to clean that front mic, man. I was like, why am I having so, why are my lives so muffled? Why are they not coming through clear the way they should be? And that's really why I hadn't been doing them as much. I've been going through StreamYard, but I'm like, I need to go directly to the platform so I can, definitely interact and engage with people that may come in. But y'all gotta do this. If this message means anything to you, whatever we talk about here, whatever I've discussed on a charm hour, if it's ever just you've made a connection with it in any type of way, make sure you share the message and like the message and set your notifications when you subscribe, because the one thing I believe that is happening here is certain dialogue that comes up and it's just being muffled, meaning that they're silencing it, or the algorithms just aren't placating it up to it in such a way that it's getting the information. Now, I've noticed that if a few lives I've done, not a few, but quite a few in the beginning when I was rocking, I'm talking about organically, people was just tapping in. The show is still growing, but it was growing rapidly, and then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, they put a muzzle on it. They put a muzzle on it. And I believe that happens. I don't know if that's just through the algorithms being programmed, or the machine learning technology learns in a certain way that it does it, or if, those that are writing the code behind the scenes are doing it. Whatever the case may be, I definitely believe that. And it's so funny because what I'm going to talk about today needs to be discussed in a massive way. It needs to be discussed in a massive way. What I'm going to be discussing today needs to be we need to have a large dialogue about it. But it seems like all the other conversations in the space tend to go viral, tend to go out in such a way that people have an attraction to it. And one of those reasons I feel is because it's so divisive. A lot of the conversations that we're having, and you know what? I've said this here, that the truth is divisive. The truth is divisive. So you're going to have some division. But I think algorithmically speaking, just maybe if you talk about when we talk about oh man, look at that. I got that on. Attention span, I think people like when there's tension. They like when there's some type of tension, some type of controversy, whatever the case may be. Although I say, hey, I'm Boy Drew, the Charm God, king of controversial, uncomfortable conversations, which I definitely am. Hit that like button when y'all come on in. What's going on, Sam Fit? Hit that like button. Go ahead and share this message today so we can get more folks up in here. Bentley, what's going on? Hit that like button. Go ahead, hit that like button, share so we can get more people up in here. But yeah, man, I think at times you're going to have controversial conversations that will bring tension. I do believe that. I believe that you're going to have controversial conversations that will bring tension. But when we begin to talk about solution, when we begin to have solution-oriented conversations, typically those conversations, I do think, as it pertains to black folk, it gets a muzzle on it. So again, as y'all come on in, hit that like button. We want YouTube to recommend what we got going on. Y'all get them likes up because we want to have an honest conversation about everything that's going on in the space. When we talk about family dynamics, gender dynamics, red pill, pink pill, whatever you want to call it, beta, alpha, whatever the conversation is, we want to have a well-rounded conversation about what's going on, and we want as many people in here as we can, because I know for a fact that what we're going to talk about today, they don't want us to know this. They don't want us talking about this as it pertains to all communities, but particularly the Black community, because it suffers the most. So as y'all come on in, hit that like button. Y'all hit that like button. Y'all make comment. Go ahead and talk and throw 50K in the chat. There's a 50,000 sub campaign going on here at the channel. Again, I have that campaign here because I want as many people as possible to be here having real dialogue about what do we do in the Black community in our family crisis. I know we having a family crisis right now. We are having a family crisis. You know, Deontay Kyle had this viral commentary go out and say that, you know, we need to be, as men, need to be accountable for women's safety. Of course, you've had this big deal with, I'm just going to paint the picture as we get into the message. You've had this conversation between Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion that was about protect Black women. Black men overall feel that they're being demonized. Black women overall feel that they're being demonized. We have become a much more divided group than we've ever been. We have become a much more divided group than we've ever been. All the while, geopolitically, we are having major issues that we aren't paying attention to. And it's hard for us to do that because we have an internal fighting going on amongst the people. And so the question is, how do you fix that? How do you then combat the issues that we're really having? When this is a very layered, nuanced issue, it's a very layered, nuanced conversation. And that's what we have to understand. This is not one direction. When you talk about what's going on inside of urban communities, when you talk about what's going on in the Black community, this is not a direction. It's not one direction. Meaning that there's not just one thing there's not a one solution oriented process. There's not one thing that you can pick and say, hey, we found a solution to this. There's not a one size, or as they say, one size fit all shoe. You know, that's not the case right here. This is very nuanced and very layered. And you have different discussions going on, which are good. But I definitely feel here at the Charm Hour, what separates us in the entire space of this conversation is I have talked about solutions. And I believe that the one solution that I do discuss is the least favorite because it's the hardest. We got to understand what is happening in regards to us politically. First off, you have to understand what's going on with us politically. What's going on with our community politically, and who is the driving force in our community politically? One, we're not an agenda-based group people. We're not an agenda-based group people. We're either going left or we're going right. And on either side of that political ideology, we don't have an extreme amount of power. And you got to see that when we in this voting process. This is what I need people to understand when we talking about Black issues. We did not have any type of real political power on either side of the fence. When you look at the conservative side, the right side, we don't have any we're not established. We are a minority there. They know that our votes count, and they can't be as deliberately racist as they like to be, but there's really no there's no pressure or there's no motivation to do anything for black people on the conservative side. That's number one. When you look at the left side, and I want us to get this and understand that. I really want us to understand what's going on as I set this up on what's the problem with our infighting now, and why we can't see why all that is another arm of oppression. It's another leg, or it's another branch on that tree of oppression that's affecting us. But on the right side, you have people that understand that your vote counts, but there's no real motivation or there's no real pressure to do anything for your community. And as a minority group that is not a wealthy minority group, it's not a wealthy minority group, that is, in fact, American citizens. We are American citizens here. There should be some political agenda to meet the needs of the people that are here. You know, when you get to talking about foundational black Americans or American descendants of slaves, and you're talking about black people that are actually here in this country that don't have anywhere to go, it's indeed the federal government's it is indeed the federal government's obligation to meet the needs of those people, but not just those people, all of its American citizens. So again, on the right side, there is no real motivation to do that. On the left side, there's no true real motivation to do the same. This is where we get confused. There's really no true motivation on the left side to do anything for you politically either. It's just not. Because most of what's happening to you or for you on the left side, everything that's going on the left side, you are being siphoned. Your energy is being siphoned and put into other places or to other subjugated groups that have other agendas that make the elite or on that side, or make those that have the power on that side, that appeases them. And it still don't have nothing to do with you. And this is where the black community is most confused. This is where we're most confused, that neither side, whether it be Republican, whether it be Democrat, has any type of real motivation to help you, because at the end of the day, you really don't move the needle. You don't move the needle. You are a group of people. We have become a group of people that have had to be cared for and looked after. And typically, what do we do for people like that? We typically put people like our elderly or people that need a certain amount of care, we just put them in a home, or we put them somewhere where they can just be cared and looked after, and we have a system that take care of them. And that's in so many ways, that's what our community has become. The black community has become a group of people that you have to coddle, take care of, and just look after, whatever the case may be. We haven't really made any real political strides. And look, no, that is not our fault. That is not our fault. But it has become our responsibility to make some changes. It is our responsibility. So it is our responsibility to make the change. So where does that change start? Where is that change going to start? Where do we need to look at in our community in comparison to other communities and say, this is where we're having the issue? Well, one of the first places we got to take a look at is the marriage rates. If you look, I mean, I've been saying this for quite some time. I've been saying this for a long time. I'm sure people aren't. This ain't nothing that people want to hear, but it's just the truth. When I'm looking at the community and I'm saying, where is the most problematic thing I can find? What's the most issue? Is it drug abuse? No. Is it what they say is black on black crime? No. Is it the wealth gap and all of that, I'm going to say no, because I'm looking for origins of issues. I'm not looking at symptoms. Well, where's the biggest issue that you can find in our community? Well, the biggest issue you can find in our community is the marriage rates. It's low. The marriage rate, you're talking about 31%. You're talking about a 31% marriage rate in the black community. That's an issue. So if the marriage rate is low, but the people still having babies, where are the children being raised? The children are being raised in single parent households, predominantly raised by home. We're not talking about fault. The one thing with our people, we're going to have to get into the habit of listening, looking at a situation, and dialoguing about it from an intellectual perspective and not emotional. Not having your feelings all in it. Who primarily are these children being raised by? When we look at the numbers, low marriage rates, and we look at out of wedlock birth rates being high, well, we see a correlation with those children, whether they be men or women, having a high propensity of drug abuse, crime rate, going to jail, anything you could think of, name it. You're gonna see a wealth gap. It is not a mistake. It is not a mistake that the wealth gap for black people in between us, I'll say financially, that there's a gap between us and everyone else and the low marriage rates. Because low marital rates speak to, guess what? Financial hardship and difficulty. Even if it's a parent making a quite substantial amount of money, if that one income has to take care of children, has to supply all the needs for that household, how is that family? You still may be in a situation where it's check to check. You are still in a situation where you are in a check to check household. So how is that family, or how is that father, or how is that mother going to be able to take that one income and deploy it and invest and make sure that it's growing so it can create a future for that family? We don't even understand money enough. We don't have the financial literacy, as they would say, to grow our money. We think in terms of annual income. How much am I making per year? We don't think in terms of wealth building, assets, deploying money to invest it and make it grow. Because often we don't even have that. We don't have reserve. So again, when you look at all the symptomatic issues, when you look at all those things that we're having, and you make that correlation to the low marriage rates, well, then there you have it. That's the problem. When you say that black men have to be accountable for black women's safety, how that man gonna be accountable for anybody's safety if he hasn't learned masculinity? How is this man going to be accountable and responsible for anybody's safety if he hasn't learned how to do that from a man? He hasn't seen that example. Even in a situation where the father's around and it's a divorced household, it's a broken family, it's going to be a task for that man to set his standard in that household. Remember, this conversation ain't about blame. This conversation, we're putting rationale to what's going on. So it's, all right, man. I had to come back, man. My bad. My bad. You know what I'm saying? Had a little technical difficulty, but I'm back. Thomas said women are absolutely. I don't think I am. I'm good to the gender. and what we're experiencing right now and why it's important that we about it. But when we talk about black men being accountable for black women's safety, I'm not mad at Red Pill. Can y'all? I'm not mad at Red Pill because Red Pill has given some direction to the average man on what masculinity is like or what he's experiencing on his journey through masculinity. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Red Pill is helping you understand for those that haven't traditionally had any fathers, or maybe even if they've had a father, but that father was a passive aggressive father, really didn't have any type of real authority in the household. Um, Red Pill is going to help him understand what that is, what's happening, and that's not being dialogued enough. Because for the most part, even the men that have some critique of Red Pill are passive men themselves. So they don't understand about framework, purpose, and holding anybody accountable. Because as a leader, you must hold people accountable. As a leader, you must hold people accountable. As a man, you're gonna have to hold your wife and your children accountable at some point. And in order to be doing that and holding anybody accountable, you have to be walking in leadership, which means that you're walking in examples of what that looks like. You have to be walking in examples of righteousness. This is why, look, we can't afford to be doing debauchery. All that Diddy stuff, we can't be affording to do. We cannot afford to participate in debauchery because it is not great leadership for our community. We cannot afford to be walking in unrighteousness because it's not great leadership for our family. A woman will do what you allow her to do. A woman will do where you lead her to go. She is the multiplier. If you are putting positivity in her, it's multiplying positivity. If you're putting negativity in her, it's multiplying negativity. Men have to understand that. But where this is all confusing is where are these men gonna get their information from of masculinity if they've grown up in a single parent household? That's the issue. If that man has grown up in a single parent household, he watched a single woman